Commentaries. This is the next installment of the KFPL Premier League quarterfinals. This time between Pochh and DaveCordeiro. We'll give a minute for everyone who to give everyone a chance to join the stream, and then we'll get cracking on the deck chat before we jump straight into the game.
It's going to plug it in all the various things. How is everybody? Happy morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are.
It's currently a delightfully balmy afternoon in Nottingham right here at the moment.
It's like surprisingly sunny in The Hague. It's been actually good.
Oh, lovely. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, it's generally very helpful. I'm just trying to edit some the names of things on the stream. So because we have today, Sunday. We also have J Power versus Tomat coming up later.
We do indeed, and then third and final game of today is let me have a quick look. Lorenzo from the Hamburg Atlanteans versus Dr. Sheep of Team SAS. But before we focus on those, let's focus on the game in hand, which is going to be Pochh versus DaveCordeiro. And I think we're going to look at DaveCordeiro's decks first, because they're the decks I've just found on my screen as I've clicked over. So,
fair enough.
First one we'll talk about is The Creature That Screams at Dreams, which is a cracking name for a deck, I've got to say.
I do like it. Good, strong name.
Yeah. I think this is the kind of deck where we've said this once, we've said it 1,000 times. Cota's going to Kota, but this is a very good example of a kind of Kota deck you've got where it's very, very clear what each house's role is. You know, you've got Logos, which is getting through your deck, a little bit of Ember control and then the Neurosiphons, but mostly you're just drawing and playing cards to set up your big Untamed turn, which is going to generate you all the Ember. And then you've got Shadows in the middle, doing that stealing, keeping your opponent in check, and it does it pretty well.
Yeah, the creature control is a bit light because it's Kota, but you've got an Nature's Call, which is usually very good. You have a Strange Gizmo, which is kind of a full wipe, and then a couple of other pieces. We did see the Ancient Bear used pretty successfully for creature control.
Oh, really? That's not a phrase you hear very often.
Well, it comes in with the Speed Sigil, so it comes in ready, and that combined with the Assault saw it regrowth several times and then just slam down and ran into something.
Ah, very nice. And it's
like murder it.
It's also worth noting that kind of pre the nerf of a library access, this would have been a lands deck as well.
So yeah, sad missed opportunity for the Creature That Screams at Dreams. It's no longer the deck that it once was, but still pretty damn good.
It is, yeah, it's still pretty nice. Exactly.
Has double Speed Sigil, which I think obviously makes it much more consistent in getting the Speed Sigil out, and it has a bunch of really good targets for that, right? So in Shadows, you've got Noddy the Thief and an Umbra. Obviously useful to come in ready. In Logos, you've got a Nova Archaeologist, which could be huge, as well as a Batter and an Archivist. And yeah, Dew Fairy in the Untamed. And so it's obviously could get a lot of use out of that if it is not too much of a risk to play at all.
It is indeed. I think the good thing about double Speed Sigil is, firstly, it's the reliability that you know you're going to get that Speed Sigil out probably quite early in a game. And also, secondly, if, say, someone destroys your Speed Sigil, you've got another one in your back pocket ready to play.
Speed Sigil 2, the Sigiling.
Yes, indeed, the Reckoning. Yeah, nice deck. Not too much to say on it. As we said, with a lot of Kota decks, it tends to be that they kind of do one thing and they do one thing very well, but they're not the most kind of like flexible of decks, I'd say.
It does what it does very well, and has made it this far, so we'll see how it goes.
And I think another deck that
7-3, so
yeah, another deck that does what it does very well is Caruso Chef de U-Boots.
Boss of U-Boats, and yep, it's got 5 E-Dies, it's got triple Exhume, and as a result, has become notorious as very difficult to beat.
Yeah, because I'm just constantly going to be having a massive archive, firstly, and secondly, going to just be having those E-Dies just coming down turn after turn. Like, I've got to think you're going to be archiving a lot of the Brobnar cards here. You know, you've got stuff like Egon the Great, Egon the Terrible, Ragnarok, which are all cards that you're just not really going to find very useful very often. So happy to just whack those in your archive, get them out of the way, and just kind of slim down your deck to see kind of like you'll be playing your Logos turns and your Dis turns as much as possible.
Yeah, and the thing is, unless you can find a way to get rid of some of the Edis, you're just going to be in a situation where they can either play an Edi or exhume an Edi
Mm.
every single turn.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even just one die, it's generally going to be two or three, and it just means that your keys gonna cost like such a ludicrous amount unless you've got key cheats or a way to interact with your opponent's archives, then it's just going to be really difficult to get around those
Yeah,
Edi shenanigans.
you see decks that are able to just purge them all out, but I
Hmm.
don't think we have any of those today.
No, I do think Pochh might have some solutions to it, which may inform some of Dave Banning's, but we'll talk about that when we get to Poch's decks. Because first,
Yep.
we're going to talk about the leader who laughs at time. Another cracking name.
Good names from Dave's selection. I've got to
Hmm.
got to give him that. Yeah, so this has 2 Fangtooths and autoencoder, as well as triple Rad Penny. So you're gonna get a situation where you're cycling very quick by discarding a whole bunch of things, essentially having Rad Pennies constantly being played and knocked back into your deck, and just eating through any board your opponent tries to set up.
Yeah, exactly. You also got a logos where you've got obviously that autumn coder and quite a few cards that like interact quite well with that. So you've got like a sloppy lab work is a really good one to use there. You got say like an eclectic inquiry is a nice one too, just to kind of like again put more stuff in your archive, but also means that you're just going to get into your deck. You can get bigger turns where you have because if you have more cards in your hand, you've got more things to discard and keep kind of like sculpting your hands to be exactly what you need.
Yeah, obviously, if you're like having an 8, 10 card hand every turn and discarding 3 or 4 of them just to keep that going,
Hmm.
go pretty well.
Indeed. But and
Uh,
the Untamed is it's not the best Untamed you'll ever see, but it's going to do some stuff here. You know, you've got the utility of the Reclaim by Nature, so any kind of like difficult artifacts you need to deal with, you can do that with, and you've got a Key Frog, Savage Clash, which say if you can say put down a Key Frog with a Chonkers, you can get that Key Frog off you if you've got just enough M's to go over the line in your Untamed. That can be quite useful.
the double Troop Call, double Niffleape is of less value, let's say, but you can definitely see a situation where you discard 2 Niffleapes, play Troop Call, and discard them again.
Oh yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, that could definitely
Uh,
be very powerful.
just for some ridiculous cycling.
Hmm. Very much so. Yeah. So I think a set of three very good decks where I think like they're all three decks are quite hard to interact with is a thing that seems to me. These are all three decks that kind of like are going to do their own thing, and it's a lot of the kind of mechanics that they're using aren't things that a lot of decks can like disrupt very easily.
Yeah, and you're trying to set up basically a game state where your opponent can't win or sort of has very limited options.
Yeah, just trying to control the game very well. But let's have a look at Poch's decks now and see if we think it'll have any ability to disrupt that. We'll talk about Olivier in Malacastle's Commando first.
And oh boy, this is one of the burstiest decks that I've seen in the KFPL because it's just silly.
Hmm.
Like 36 expected Ember, and you've got in the Untamed 2 Nature's Calls, 2 Dust Pixies, 2 Hunting Witches, and a Chota Hazri. So could forge and a Mimicry as well. So could easily forge several keys in one turn.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like you could see like certain kind of turn three or fours where you can win the game on that turn with this. I definitely say with a fair wind. Like
Yeah.
it's the speed of it is just brutal to play through.
You've got the Mars, which is like double Battlefleet, double Squawker, double Crystal Hive.
Hmm.
So obviously that has potential to generate insane amounts of Ember
Yeah.
very, very quickly.
I mean, you just get like an like if you get a turn one hand of like Battlefleet and kind of like three or four other Mars cards, and you just kind of like draw into another like big hand, like draw into like a load of Untamed, and just kind of set yourself up. Just like I could see this deck just going off, and just your opponent being like, I can literally do nothing. There's nothing I could have done that game to change what just happened.
Yeah, but then the Ember control is very limited. The creature control there's some, but it's not amazing. So it
Mm.
is just all about that insane amount of speed.
Yeah, I mean, I
You
think
got
when you
19 tips to begin with.
when you got 36 expected Ember, you're just like, look, you can try and stop me. If you can stop me, cool, go for it. But I feel like you probably can't. It's also worth knowing double Titan mechanic as well.
Yeah,
So if you can like you have like even cheaper keys and stuff too. It's just like one thing I could definitely see you could do with that actually is say play a couple of Dust Pixies, Nature's Call them back, play say a Chota Hazri to forge that key for 5, bring that back again with another like play it all again, bring it
yeah,
back with another Nature's Call,
yeah.
just doing stuff that's insane with this deck.
So basically, just a gamble on being able to burst out massively.
Mm.
And we've seen it get banned 4 times and win 4 times. So
Yeah, I can definitely understand why with this.
yeah, seem draws the bans.
But let's have a look at the second deck, which is X Peters Penple's Meaningless Adept.
Yeah, so we just have very good all-round Worlds Collide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got pretty big numbers all over. If you look at the stats, right, 20 Ember control, 21 creature control, 26 expected Ember.
Yeah, no, it's very nice. It's you know, I mean, one thing I'm always going to look at is when we listened to this before is that Saurian has some real nice stuff in, like double tribute and the 6 Emperor for the Trix Emperor. Always happy to see it, especially with an Imperium too. So potentially you can ward a creature, doesn't even kill your creature after you've Trix Empered them. Can definitely do some nasty stuff with that. Favor of Rex is a card you picked up when we were kind of doing our notes for this too. Trigger the play effect of a creature if you just played it. A lot of really good cards, and I think one that is definitely worth pointing out here is Desania. Could be very crucial in that matchup against that Edai deck if it doesn't get banned.
Or in against the auto-encoder deck as well.
Against of course, yeah, against the auto-encoder deck, yes, of course, that too,
So
yeah.
Very dangerous immediately, and be able to do it twice, potentially with Favor of Rex, could be very big.
Indeed it could, yeah. I mean, you're also looking at Dis here, and it's like, it's very classic kind of Worlds Collide Dis is kind of all the cards you want. You've got that your Exhumes to bring back, say, your Edais, your Desanias, Odoax, Retagallums can be really good ones with that too.
You've got a good EE hit.
Indeed, yeah. A lot of cards that you're just happy to just kind of like purge away. It's like a Soul Fiddle, whatever.
But Buzzle, which is, I think, a secret gem of Worlds Collide Dis, if you want to sort of...
I think it is, but I think you've got a lot of... You don't got many creatures here that you'd be particularly happy to Buzzle away.
Perhaps.
You know, maybe like a Babbling Bibliophile, maybe, but if you've got a Babbling Bibliophile on the board from the turn previous, then you probably wouldn't want to go to Logos to use it. Like Litherthal, I guess, in Harbinger of Doom in some circumstances, but not many cards that you want to Buzzle that hard.
Jupiter pointing out in the chat that you could Favor of Rex a Chota, which I think would be...
Ooh, that's very good. Yeah, you definitely could.
I will note something very funny, because this deck, despite having 15 creatures, had an expected board power of 16. Just from the incredibly high levels of creature control.
I think the lowest we've seen is 8 thus far, isn't it, in the KFPL?
Yeah, because you're looking at Double Harbinger, Axiom, Gleeful Mayhem, 6 Emperor.
Yeah.
There's huge amounts of creature control.
And I think that's the other thing that could be good about this deck against that quintuple Edai deck. Is that, you know, you do have ways to just keep clearing the board and keep having to have those Edais played again, and especially with a Desania, you know, this could be a deck that could like go toe to toe with that monster that's been banned so often.
Absolutely, and we'll see whether that comes through. The final deck we have is Meaningless Javier of the Bayou, which has gone 6-3. It's been only banned once, which is impressive given it's a Curiosaurus deck. Not exactly everyone's favorite thing to play against, and this one is...
Speak for yourself, mate.
I said not everyone. It could be some people's. Yeah, a Curious deck with a ridiculous amount of capture. So you've got the Amphora Capturer and 33 things that could trigger with the Amphora.
Yeah.
19 Ember Pips, and then 14 other enhancements. You've got double Spoils of Battle. You've got double Xeno Training.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's just tons of ways. And I think one thing you pointed out that we think will work, but we're not 100% sure, is the Pale Star with Curiosaurus. Like having everything 1 power, you can definitely do some kind of like nutty things, but like moving around Ember in that way much more easily than you would when you got to like move around different powers.
Like I noticed this, but then just wasn't clever enough to work out what in the amount of time that I spent looking at this deck. I was like, Pochh will know. Pochh, he's made it this far. There'll be something there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the other interesting one could be like Double Mark of Dis too. You know, we could definitely see that like playing into some like trapping it in houses, especially against. I think the deck we keep talking about is this Edai deck because it's been banned so often. But I think actually Pochh has got a good set here for kind of like responding to that, and actually might not ban that deck, which we've seen banned so often.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing, because obviously I thought initially before we had this conversation that who would ban the Edai decks. It doesn't really have Purge, doesn't have a huge ability to combat the Edai nonsense, but stuff like Dysania, stuff like Double Mark of this, very much could take it out. So might let that one get by,
Mm-hmm.
and then possibly banning either leader or creature.
Yeah. Okay, I think the players are just about ready, so we're gonna can jump into the game very shortly. I'm just gonna log into the Crucible and get ready. But who's your call for this then, Callum? Who do you think's gonna take this matchup?
I don't know. I do have the bans now, which is interesting. So
Oh, so we do,
kind of
yes.
have like speed versus
So
anti-speed, if that makes sense. So Pochh ban Caruso, so we will not be seeing the quintuple Edai shenanigans.
and Olivier has been banned as well, so we'll not be seeing that brutal rush either.
Which is a little bit disappointing on both sides, but I think reasonably very defensible.
Understandable, yes.
Very defensible choices from the players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both players just doing a little bit of a setup here. So yeah, who's your call then, Callum? Who are you putting your sales but win behind?
You're nudging me to make a call, which I don't want to because I like to pretend that I was right all along. And I think I'm going to go Dave.
Okay.
I think a combo of the creature control that we get out of the leader who laughs at time and the sort of sufficient speed and ember control we get out of creature is going to take it. But I think it'll be a 2-1 effort.
Okay, I'm gonna be contrary and go for Pochh then.
Of course.
I mean, I see two man's playing two decks with Saurians. Like I'm always gonna be backing that horse. That's just me, man. So yeah, I mean, I think like it's X Peters I think still has a good matchup against like Dave's decks, and like I think just Xavier it's just gonna be a nightmare to play into just with that amount of capture, the amount of like kind of ways it can mess with you. It's just gonna be really
we could see some absolute shenanigans.
We could, and we do love
happening.
Shenanigans.
We do love shenanigans.
Word of the day: shenanigans.
How has that never been our word of the day?
I don't know, but it is now.
Word of the day is shenanigans.
Okay.
What about you? What about you, chat? Who do you think's gonna manage to take this?
The game is up. I'm gonna be joining as a little spectator.
See, Jupiter is in here repping for Pochh as a fellow member of United Archon's Prime.
Yeah, Team Pochh. Woo!
Don't know if we have any members of Team Reapout who Dave's representing.
We do have Grant Titus in the chat saying he's supporting Dave. I feel awkward not supporting a fellow Dave. This is.
Oh, they're going to ban you from the Council of Daves.
They are, yeah. I mean, my tenure's been on shaky ground very recently. They found out that I was called Baron. They were like, "Hang on a second, whoa, you're not always called Dave." And it was bad, but managed to get through the appeals process.
Jupiter throwing down the SAS talk. Pochh is ready, apparently. So has been, I assume, in some sort of intense training montage.
Yeah. There's a section with fitness for some reason, where there was someone like riding a bike alongside him while he jogged. Don't know how that came up with Keyforge, but damn, it was a good film.
They were like throwing cards, Gambit style. It was like dodging left and right. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, there was one bit where he tried to flip over a key and he just couldn't, and then at a later scene he did flip the key and it was like everyone was really happy.
The stalling and the bits will continue until the game begins.
Yeah, but I think Poch's just doing some quick things with the internet, but should be joining us very shortly, I hope. It's a hotly anticipated game. We already have this. Does of course their opponent has been determined. If anyone listening hasn't watched yesterday's stream and doesn't know who has gone through, feel free to kind of mute for the next 10 seconds and I'll put in the chat once we finish talking about it. But it is, of course, in something of an upset, I'd say. It was Sharka who went out of the competition and Jay Philippegg who went through. So they will be playing Jay Philippegg in the next round.
It does set up a potential intra-team semi-final clash if Pochh can make it through here.
Mm-hmm, indeed. But yeah, so we will now stop talking about spoilers though. So I'll say spoilers finished.
If you haven't watched it, Go watch that match because it was a hell of a
Yeah,
game.
incredible. Like all three games, like real nail biters, really, really excellent. Like, well, I said three games. Was there three games or was there two? Who knows? Maybe I'm just
Maybe
being
there
a
was
rapscallion.
maybe there were two games and we recorded one of our sealed ones again.
Maybe. Well, it would have been me and Brobnar in Screech Bob-Omb, but
It's true. You tried to replace me
I did.
until I forced my way back in for
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
stream.
If Brobnar goes missing, then you might want to look at Callum's door first.
I hear you're auditioning someone else in the game after this.
I am, yeah. So next game it'll be me and Justice Blinded. I'm being a bit of a I've got a lot of commentary partners. It's the modern world. I don't need to be monogamous with my commentary partners. I can commentate with whoever I want.
Mm-hmm. Look,
Yeah, having some.
I don't know where I'm going with this.
Pochh is rejoined, so hopefully he'll stay joined this time, and he has selected his deck. So I think we are about to jump into the game, which we
All
are.
right.
Here we go. We're gonna have Pochh on top of the screen playing X Peters, Pen Please Meaningless Adept, and then we're gonna have DaveCordeiro on the bottom of the screen playing the creature that screams dreams, dreams and screams, screams and dreams.
So one of those meta shift type games where we see how much the best of Coda can hold up against Worlds Collide.
Indeed, we will.
Is the sort of big chunky board going to get too much for the creature that screams at dreams? Will the big Trick Semper combo do for the creature, or will the Worlds Collide deck simply be outrushed by Coda?
We will find out here. It's going to be Dave with the going first here, and just waiting. Oh, hang on, we're having Pochh is having some internet troubles, so hopefully they'll get resolved shortly, and we can get this game on the road. So what do you think for this game then? What do you think is going to happen here, Callum?
Well, I think if you're a Pochh, you have a bit of a difficulty because obviously you're looking to hit like giant sick trick. I keep messing up Trick Semper combos, but you've got the TMTP floating around. So when that happens, could be fairly crucial. You do have a graft yourself, so we could see a situation in which you Trick Semper, knowing they may have the TMTP, you also having the graft ready, also the E-Dies ready to rack up the key cost to balance that out.
Indeed, you can, yeah.
So it's going to be a bit of a delicate dance.
Yeah, and I think like the E-Dies are going to be pretty crucial in this matchup. They could really kind of like decide this. It's because it's not got great ways to remove them in the creature. Like we talked about that Ancient Bear with the Speed Sigil could be one, but I'd say kind of outside of that, you're really struggling for at least ways to like outright kill them. You've got say Nature's Call to return them if you want to do like a Chota Has replay, but outside of that, not the best board control.
Yeah. And also, whether the Speed Sigil benefits you more than your opponent is, I think, a question. Not too many things that would massively benefit.
Yeah, I think the big ones probably would be firstly Harbinger of Doom. Could be one that could have a bit of an effect, just because it means you can play it, kill everything. But generally, like I don't think Dave cares all that much about his board. But I think definitely stuff like say Bibliophiles one. Yeah, I was gonna say definitely could be the big one, and also Jar Goggle could be a good one. Playing things out of house.
Yep. Or a Gallum for some extra under control.
Shadow
Self
first. You're very good to see.
Very good turn one play usually, because obviously it gives you a chance to put something very important behind it.
Yeah, I think Hunting Witch could be a big one that you wanting to get past. Ooh, E on the fringe is very early there, along with the Harbinger of Doom.
Not perhaps the opening hand that's Pochh wants is.
Backdrain, Remote Access, and discards an effervescent principle. So some like really big Ember control coming out very early on here for both players.
Could mean that we could get some spicy nonsense later.
It definitely could. We are going to see Saurian here coming from Pochh. Favor of Rex. Just going to be play for the Ember here. Not going to be getting any play effects. Ancient Power, just for the Ember again. Imperium going to ward both of these creatures, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, some pretty rough opening draws from Pochh. These are all things that could have been done with different creatures being available.
Indeed. But maybe just trying to like gonna get them just like in the discard, kind of like when it's just kind of get through as quickly as possible. We do see the speed sigil coming down on the Reap from the Shadow Self. And Dave up to 5 already though, after that routine job and a miasma. There's a bibliophile.
Immediately, yeah, we are going to see a rare bibliophile Reap thanks to the speed sigil.
Indeed. Twin Bolt's going to do some damage to that Shadow Self. There's a Titan Guardian. Going to ward that EE on the. Going to get next to that EE on the fringes. Cutthroat Research just for the Ember and Pochh up to 5. He says, if you can get a 5, so can I.
Anything you can do, I can also do to a similar extent.
Indeed, but yeah,
I think that's how the song went.
Yeah, I think so. Sounds pretty simple for me.
Right.
But yeah, Dave, had a bit of think here. Haven't seen any Untamed yet out of him, so could be a good time for that a big like kind of like bursty turn here. But is have to be wary of that interdimensional graft.
Good time for a potential Chota.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sat there on 5, you can knock that out quickly.
Yeah.
Avoid some EE things happening.
Yeah, and avoid the Tricks Emperor as well. I think with the big one you're trying to dodge there. You're a bit of a kind of like precarious position here, where if you go to a lot of Ember, you could definitely end up on something like that Titan Guardian.
Yeah, but obviously with the Shadow Self on the board, the Tricks Emperor combo gets much trickier.
Yes. Of course it does. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. But I suppose it's the kind of thing where with the speed sigil, whatever you play, if you're playing like say a Ludo or an Odoak, then you can fight those into the Shadow Self, hopefully just to take it out. I'm going to see that Bat Drone fight to the Babbling Bibliophile, putting Dave up to check with that steal. Phase Shift is going to be the next card played. What will be shifted in? There's a Life Web. It isn't going to steal anything. It's just going to be for the Ember there. But Dave going to 7.
Pochh straight to Dis. So we've got to, I think, expect a couple of cards to go the way of the EE here.
And we've seen Obsidian Forge first and foremost. First and Forge most, if you will.
Hey!
Hoo-hoo!
Discards them as next move. Discards Buzzle.
Yeah, I'm going to be purging those. Of course, no Dis in Dave's deck, limiting how much EE use you can get, but still pretty good to get those 2 bits of steel. And may just... Interesting to see what he does here, whether he stops here or whether he kind of keeps going. Wants to stick on 8, I think probably cognizant of that TMTP. Doesn't want to give chance to take too much. We are going to see shadows, so I think that TMTP is, straight there into it. There it is.
Okay, that being out of the way is potentially
Are we going to see... Ooh, hits the 6 Semper Tyrannosaurus and a finishing blow.
Big oof. So puts himself up to 11. But hits the 6 Emperor, potentially very big. What's Pochh got in hand? Does go Saurian.
Retagallum. Reach the Retagallum to knock Dave up to 12. So he isn't going to be forging this turn. No forging for you, Mr. Cordeiro.
And with the graft floating around, that feels like a precarious position to be in.
Very much does. And I think maybe that's what Pochh is digging for here. You know, just trying to get that out, trying to limit Dave's ability to forge. We are going to see an Ancient Bear here. Fights the Odoak, the Patrician. Of course, the Odoak Patrician stopping stealing for Dave, so a good one to get rid of. And there's a Dust Pixie and a Hunting Witch. A regrowth, bringing back the Ancient Bear. Dave, it's up to 14, 15 Ember here.
Ooh, so taking what feels like a big gamble to me.
Massive gamble, yeah.
There is a graft in this deck. Yes, there is.
There is a graft, indeed. Does Pochh have it?
So feels very risky.
And there does have the graft.
Oof. And with the TMTP gone, that is big.
Huge, yeah.
That is going to be 9 Ember going straight from Dave.
And with that Obsidian Forge down as well, this could become a very short game at this point. Going to play the Daughter as well. Going to get that extra card draw. Goggle. And it's going to be put down, places something under it. Interesting. I maybe would have thought about kind of like playing the Goggle, fighting it into the Hunting Witch would have been a temptation for me, because he does fight the Dust Pixie here, which, you know, with that regrowth knocking around, there is definitely more than one of those. Not a deal, but he's going to go Logos.
So Pochh straight up to 10.
Neurocycling for the steal. Strange Gizmo.
So can potentially deal with the board if you can get another key here.
Mm-hmm. We do know there's like 2 tributes still in Poch's deck, and you think only 9 cards left, it would have at least 1. So even if Dave goes to check here, I've got to think he's not going to stay there very long.
Yeah, I've got to assume he's like looking for to try and rush and get Ember to try and Chota out here.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't seen that yet.
The choker will be crucial because not only would that obviously give Dave a key, but it also takes out a vast majority of Poch's board too, which limits how easily you can use that Obsidian Forge. But Dave is going to go to check on 6 here. Poch's going to forge his second key.
As I say, can Pochh Obsidian Forge immediately?
I don't think he can, because I think the thing is that warded Harbinger in E, so he can only really reduce the key cost currently by 7.
So fight.
Yeah, he needs to be able, he needs to reap. So he needs.
Okay, I don't think it's happening this turn.
You need to either get either play 3 extra creatures or get 3 extra Ember. I don't think he's got a great way of doing that. And maybe an Exhume actually.
He's going to Exhume, could get a Reap in. He's going to go Saurian
instead. So presumably doesn't, but he's going to play that Tribute. And Tribute again. I mean, he's got the Ludo out here, so he could just be using this just to kind of get rid of all of that Ember and draw himself a couple of cards.
2 cards. That is brutal. That is a full key of Ember.
That is,
Poof, gone.
And Phalanx Strike, going to take out that Hunting Witch. Put an Ember on that Harbinger of Doom. And another one. And then just reaps out. And up to 7.
Goes to check himself at 7.
I mean, you got to think this is just going to be hard for Dave to stop here, really. You know, you've got
TMTP is gone, so we've got
Routine Job would stop it, but the problem is you've still got Obsidian Forge for the next turn, so it's whether that actually stops it or not.
We've got Routine Jobs, we've got Urchins.
Yes. And then have we've seen Umbra? I don't think we've seen Umbra yet. No. So we have got quite a bit of steel left in Shadows, potentially, but it's whether there's enough to stop it with the Obsidian Forge looming too. Because we've not seen masses of this game. You've got to think Pochh has got a fair bit in his hand here. Enough to get like a bit of Ember at least off of it. We do see Noddy the Thief going to get a steal off there. Urchin, another steal. Tautar Vapors discarded. Not what you're looking for there. I've got to think. Yeah, go straight into Dis.
This hit, so it's going to reap twice.
He just needs one more Ember here, and I think he's got it. Gets it with the Gleeful Mayhem.
Just steals.
Yeah. Oh, just discards the steal. There's the Exhume, plays the Odoak, and yeah, definitely enough here to Obsidian Forge out. Probably just playing it out just to get the maximum amount of Ember.
Don't want to fuck up the maths.
No, you definitely don't. And yep, sacrifices.
We're going to go through a lot of clicking.
Yep, and there you go. Pochh forging the 3rd key. Winning the game.
8 turns.
Your kind of key forge there, really, isn't it?
Dave basically going for the gamble and saying, well, if he doesn't have the graft, I win. If he does have it, he probably wins. Didn't pay off, took a risk, didn't pay out. And Pochh takes game 1.
Pochh does indeed. A very fast first game there. Both players not hanging around, just going straight in, full-blooded, 2-footed key forge.
All right, so we are now going to see meaningless Javier come in with some Curia shenanigans.
Indeed, I do love some Curia shenanigans. Nearly clicked join there rather than watch. I don't want to play in this game because I think I would get roundly thrashed.
Don't want to take on Dave?
No, I'm good. I'm good, actually. I'm all right. I have a nice Curia deck I could take him on with, you know, given the similar experience, but I'd rather not.
I've got a couple, like, you know, I'll just play some DT that I'm sure is equally as good. It's fine. Still waiting on those SAS scores. It's killing me.
But yeah.
It's one of those things where I just need to know whether I'm right. I think I know which of my decks are good. I need someone to tell me.
Yeah. Okay, and here is Pochh joining the game. Hopefully we'll have... This will be a little bit of a smoother process this time. Yeah, asking whether Dave wants to go first or second. As is the losing player of the first game is right. So let's hope that Dave is going first in this game. Or we'll have to make a new one. Pochh is going first, so I think we'll be leaving this game and remaking.
All right, the dance continues.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to add shenanigans to our word of the day list.
Indeed, indeed.
Shenanigans. And it has not actually been a word of the day yet.
I think it had. What's that short end?
And yet we do say shenanigans a whole bunch.
We do. It's a good word. It's a fun word to say. I would say anyone watching here, just try it. Like, just try saying shenanigans. I think you'll enjoy. Dave here has won the flip, so we'll be first player. So we are ready to rumble. Pochh on the top of the screen playing Meaningless Javier of the Bayou. And Dave on the bottom of the screen playing The Leader Who Laughs at Time. So switching decks here as well.
So it's a switcher, not a sticker.
Mm-hmm.
It's the rare option. Mostly people have been sticking.
Yeah, a lot of people have, but Dave going for that switch, and he is going to be keeping his hand. No mulligans for either player here. Here we go.
So I think this could be a much trickier matchup for Pochh this time. Just because the sort of constant board clear you're getting from the multiple fangtooths and the discarding from the autoencoder means it's going to be much harder to make the capture work, and it's going to be much harder to make the curious shenanigans work.
Yep, we do so sloppy lab work here. Discarding Chonkers. Poor Chonkers. He's just doing his best.
He's trying hard.
Yeah. And Dino Alien coming down, putting a blast shielding and an access denied on it. Shame the Nell isn't out when you got those, but Fangtooth Cavern going to take that out immediately.
Just decided you want to get rid of that straight away.
Yep, and there's Saurian Egg. Love that card.
Gotta assume that is not long for life.
No, probably not with a Fangtooth Cavern running around. There
and the
is
autoencoder early as well.
Very early.
So very, very strong start.
Oh, and a standardized testing just to take everything out.
Just getting a couple of those crucial artifacts out very early.
Mark of Disc just for the Ember. Pain Reaction just for the Embers too. But it's going up to 8 Ember though.
Huge burst.
Discards the Picaroon. Of course, even if you played that, would have immediately died because there's no neighbors. And there's another Fangtooth Cavern and a Vine Apple Tree. Niflate going to be discarded. Another Niflate. There's the Troop Call.
And there's the Troop Call.
Yeah, boom. As predicted.
Discard 2 more Nifilates.
Yeah, and this archive pretty big here for Dave. Already 4 cards in the archive, and both the players playing Keyforge full pace.
And Pochh gets first key already.
He does indeed. Yeah, there's Consul Primus with an Ember. There's the Amphora Capturer and the Ludo. So this Consul Primus not long for this world. Interesting. I suppose he wanted to get the Ember pip rather than a capture pip on the Consul Primus. Could have like taken an Ember away from Dave, but advancing his own Ember pool more than.
Yeah, I can see a situation where Pochh is just trying to generate as much Ember as possible very quickly before Dave can start to get the sort of lock situation in. Mm-hmm. Just because obviously when the rad pennies start coming and start recycling back into the deck, then you're going to have much more of a problem in generating Ember. So the fact that he's just got a straight key very quickly is pretty big.
Yeah, Alex Sheplev here saying not expecting to see any creatures played by DaveCordeiro, really just to kind of limit the effectiveness of that Mark of Dis or that Amphora Capture Curiosaurus combo. So yeah, I think we could just see Dave just kind of playing for the pips here and just trying to get through his deck as much as possible, and that is what we're seeing. You know, kind of good creatures like this Cyclone. Oh no, Zenix is going to be played.
Because it does stick around long enough to
give him those extra cards. Yes, indeed. And access denied put on Nell, getting that card draw. Captures as well. So could see this being used here to kind of limit the amount of Ember in Dave's pool using that capture with that Ludo.
Yeah, here. And with the M4 as well, obviously can turn various other enhancements into captures.
I'm seeing Xena trading, just capturing a lot of Ember here onto these creatures. That Ludo not sticking around, unless Dave has a way of getting rid of it, this could be very painful.
I think we are going to see some Rad Pennies now.
Yeah, Rad Penny, of course, good here because it does turn off that Fangtooth killing those Garcias and those Nels. So Pochh going to have to find a way of his own to kill them. And this is the thing here, you've got all 3 red pennies, but you've only got 6 cards left in Dave's deck. So just probably going to see these drawn back around again very soon. And a Bow Kniving as well. Oh.
Yeah, the steal in this deck is pretty huge.
Yeah. This is brutal. Oh, but of course does have the Obsidian Forge, actually, does Pochh. So can kill the Nell and the Garcia very easily, in fact. Almost forgot about that.
Yes. Sheplev in chat saying, do not expect rush from Xavier. Yeah, it's not your traditional rush deck, but he's just trying to generate as much Ember as possible very quickly. There's 19 pips in it.
We're going to see Mug being used just to kill a Red Penny, Ransack being used to steal 1 more Ember, and a discard of the Fantasy Economy. Key Frog, though, being hit.
Yeah, that's not good. One. So...
And a Reckless Rizzo.
So 2 Red Pennies go back.
Indeed they do.
And
Pochh is going to go
Still almost a full key of Ember.
Mark of Dis hit. Unfortunately, just both creatures too small for the Mark of Dis to be truly effective.
Yeah, I think
It's gonna hit.
discard.
It's gonna hit the Bone Nithing, which can capture more Ember onto that Sense Chief Garcia. Plays the Implosion. And yeah, just so much Ember being captured by both players here. This is incredible.
Yeah, having got one key very quickly, it might be a long time before we get a second.
Yeah. And Reclaim by Nature, I think it's going to hit that Obsidian Forge, unless I'm very
nope,
much
goes to the Amphora.
Go for the Amphora. Okay, fair enough.
Just
Yeah, I
wants
suppose
to
we have
sort
just
of-
seen that amount of capturing. Does make
Yeah,
sense there.
wants to turn off the insane endless capture.
And yeah, that Troop Core with those Niflapes just doing a lot of work in this with this auto-encoder, just being able to archive for days. And that Fangtooth, use that Growth Surge on the Sacrifice so we could get rid of that Ludo.
And it also bumped the Nell, which meant the Ludo died first, then the Nell, so we did get a big chunk of that Ember back.
Very clever play here from Dave, but we're going to see Survey from Pochh. Discards the Curiosaurus.
Yeah, not super helpful.
So yeah, exactly. Especially without the Amphora Capturer, that's really turned off some of its effectiveness. There comes a Xeno Training. It's going to come down, and Dave does forge his first key. And I think this is the concern here. If you're Pochh, is that Dave has got his engine set up. He's got his hooks in here, and it's going to be really difficult to come back from this now because there's no artifact control. I don't think in Poch's deck. You've just lost your Amphora Capturer for good too, which really limits your effectiveness.
Straight 0 in terms of hard R. And now we're going to see some more red pennies.
Indeed we are, yeah. See, those coming down. Seeker Needle to kill it immediately. Bone Nithing to steal another one. Francis the Economist discarded just for that archive. Look over there. Yep, going to hit that Mutagenist Researcher. And that's all she wrote. And yeah, just like Pochh just can't keep a foothold. Any Ember he makes is just being stolen continuously. Yeah, we see another Ludo come down though. And a Gladiodontus spoils a battle. And capturing that Ember. I'm going to see a Monument to Faust to place another Ember. And there's the Pale Star as well, using it to kill his own Mutagenist Research there with 4 Ember on it. So Pochh doing really, really effective things here just to keep getting rid of Dave's Ember, using those Ludos incredibly effectively.
Yeah, so sometimes we see games where both players try and generate more Ember quicker than the other person. Sometimes we see games where people try and take more Ember away quicker than the other person, and that's pretty much what we have here today.
Yeah, this is very much my style of Keyforge as well. I tend to be the one taking away the Ember that you make.
Who is going to run out of answers first? Will it be Dave or will it be Pochh?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dave feels the more likely one here just because to keep having the answers because he's got that autoencoder. So anything that's not an answer, he can just chuck away to get another answer. Whereas Pochh, not the fastest deck at the best of times, and it may just end up having one of those turns where he just can't get his deck to do what he wants it to do.
Yeah, isn't even bothering with QMX, just gets discarded so we can have the Zen stick in the middle. Sloppy line work for another archive with the autoencoder.
And it also means that he's going to get that Sacrifiend to be destroyed too. I think is more the thing for that QMX.
Yeah, true. So 9 turns, both on 1 key, 3 Ember.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I think the problem here, I feel like, is Pochh is eventually going to run into a wall where he can't. There's going to be a turn where he just can't stop Dave forging, and I can just see that happening twice. And I feel like Dave's deck just seems to now at this point have a way to stop Pochh every turn reliably. It's going through so quickly and so getting things so reliably, and it has things in every house that can mess with it. That unless we see some absolutely blindingly good play from Pochh, I don't see how we get here. We do see the Snoret coming down, getting a bit of Ember, Dark Mini, and drawing a card.
Yeah, it's just one of those situations where I don't know what you do here if you're Pochh. I don't know what you do to try and overcome the block that you've basically been put into.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So without that any artifact control at all, it's just like if you get rid of that autoencoder, suddenly this game becomes a lot more open. But just with that sticking on the board and sitting there, it's so hard to get round.
Yeah, so I can discard pretty much most of my things.
Yeah, and we're just seeing here Mark of Dis being used on his own creatures. Definitely not ideal. As Dave goes back into Untamed, picks up his archive again. And he's got stuff like the troop calls, which we're seeing here with those Niflapes. That
Yeah,
you can
just
then
gets him
discard those.
gets him two extra discards and two extra
Yeah,
archives.
Reclaim My Nature hitting that Obsidian Forge too.
So there goes that out.
Discuss the Savage Clash. Yeah, just every turn that archive just keeps getting bigger and bigger, but not the best turn there from Dave, actually. He didn't do too much. Seems like a bit of a setup turn, probably setting up like kind of bigger shadows and logos turns there, but
Yeah, but I
maybe
mean,
a
he
window
got
here.
some end with the Obsidian Forge, dealt with that, killed off the Snarette, so puts himself to 6. Sometimes in these sort of auto-encoder Fangtooth combos, you do just have to take a turn where you discard your entire hand, basically.
Indeed,
or most of it.
But yeah, we are going to maybe see a little window here. So yeah, we're going to see Sports of Battle, putting some Ember onto the Professor's Ludo, moving that Ember around. Defense Initiative, and yet moves an Ember onto the Consul Primus 2. And of course, getting wards here as well. So
yeah, that could be big.
That could indeed.
So at least I think guarantees some things to turn on the board.
December, I've got to think. Yeah, we're going to see. Here we go. Rad Penny, and a Bone Eye thing just to complete the set. There we go. This is the thing. It's just every time you see Pochh starting to get a bit more of a foothold, just gets slammed back down by a bevy of pennies and bows.
It's going to Seeker Needle 1, Fangtooth the other 2. Might Seeker Needle some wards off, but nah, it's just going to do a Rad Penny.
Yeah, and then a Ransack just to really. And yeah, we see that and that's a 12 Ember that Dave is now up to again.
And Fangtooth destroying 2 Rad Pennies.
Yeah.
Going back in a pretty small deck.
Yeah. I mean, that's a deck of 4, I think 3 of which is Rad Pennies.
Yeah.
Well, after the draw, obviously, but, it's just... Oh. We see a survey from Pochh. Discards a Picaroon. Are we going to maybe see... Garcia has come back round, could increase Dave's key cost a bit, but
yeah, maybe. Gonna get some mutagenesis researchers.
Explore over as well. I think maybe just trying to kind of put a wall up here, just to try to insulate that Professor's Ludo as much as possible. Maybe is the only real way out. Xena training as well, nice. So gonna be able to spread that Ember around a bit, especially with that Ludo. But it does feel a bit like shifting the deck chairs on the Titanic at this point.
Yeah, it was just unlucky that Dave got a Fangtooth and an autoencoder, both within the first couple of turns.
We're seeing another Xeno training though. So maybe here he's doing quite a lot, and he's going to hit that Rizzo, capture it all on that Consul Primus. And so yeah, Dave is going to forge his second key there. Pochh on 5, not quite on check. I mean, I feel like we either see more Rad Pennies here, or we see a Logos turn to set up a turn of Rad Pennies next turn is the thing.
Yeah, just sort of discard a few cards. Maybe play an Opposition Research.
Yeah, Opposition Research could be good. It's just, even then, it's just if he makes Ember, if you're Dave here, I think you can, guaranteed steal 3 pretty much every turn. I mean, obviously Logos picks up the archive. Yeah, it's at least 3 in that. So assuming you haven't got another Bonithing or Look Over There or something. Which Look Over There is in the discard, as is one Bonithing, but the other is currently unaccounted for. So probably going to see 4.
Oh, there's one on the discard and one on the board.
Oh, of course, one on the board. I'm smart. I do this all the time, I swear.
Look, it's not a deck where we expect this thing to have things on the board. Oh, I'm going to get a
Cyber purges the Consul Primus as well. Oh,
just gets all of that Ember. Goes to 8 or more.
The Collectible Inquiry just to do even more archiving. And Opposition Research just to stop the Reaping too. And I don't know what Pochh... Well, does Pochh have an answer? Going to Star Alliance, so clearly has something. And Blast Shielding onto the Ludo. 1 damage onto that Researcher. Access denied. And maybe the Garcia here could be the thing that is gonna keep him in the game, I'm thinking. Yeah, we haven't seen it. It's not on the discard at the moment. It's not been purged.
All right, game 3 it is.
Game 3 it is, yeah.
That was pretty brutal.
That was, I think it's like we said, as soon as that Amphora got hit, I think that was the beginning of the end, really, for Pochh. You know, he just kind of, once Dave's got that engine set up, there's not much you can do in response without having artifact control.
Yeah, and just to give an archetype that sort of really, like, that deck will take down board heavy decks just all day, every day.
It will indeed, and that's what we saw there. But hopefully, Pochh has some better luck against Dave's second neck, or will we see Dave kind of do a bit of a comeback here and bring it back around? Let's find out. As we are going to see Pochh on top of the screen, playing once again Meaningless Javier of the Bayou, and Dave on the bottom of the screen playing The Creature That Screams Dreams.
Yeah, I think perhaps another significant problem for Pochh is that the Creature That Screams at Dreams is another deck that does not really require a board.
It is true. It's very true.
They were just waiting for me as I was typing and also trying to talk and be eloquent at the same time.
But much less artifact control here. You know, you've got a remote access, which doesn't get rid of any of kind of Poch's key artifacts. And Strange Gizmo could do some things to mess that up, but a harder one to use. Obviously, you have to be able to forge a key to do that.
Yeah, and that's going to be pretty good at stopping you from ever doing that.
So Jupiter saying that this was a known bad matchup for Pochh, and this was kind of predicted to be the match that was going to really decide this. So very exciting here. I have the decider going down. Of course, this is for a place in the semi-finals of the Keyforge Premier League.
Very
Both players,
glorious achievement.
Yep. And for a capture it straight down. Got to be very happy with that if you are Pochh, I think. And there's a speed sigil as well, and a Nova Archaeologist, presumably going to bring back that face shift.
Very nice. Face shift speed sigil.
And remote access just to use that Amphora capture. Just going to rub it a bit, you know. And Mark of Dis into Logos though. Of course, with that face shift archive, not as good as it could be, but still pretty nice, forcing Dave to take another Logos turn and gonna play that Sacrifiend to do a reap.
Yeah, especially handy as he was able to take out the Archaeologist.
Indeed.
So he couldn't have more face shift shenanigans.
Yep. So does Dave have much Logos here? Didn't play the most cards in that Logos turn, so you gotta think maybe doesn't have the best hand. You know, played what, 3 there. He's gonna pick up his archive, that face shift. There's Neurosiphon, gonna get to steal and draw a card. Bat Drone, gonna probably steal another with a fight. Indeed, he does. So maybe it is a pretty nice turn. Not too devastated to be hitting into Logos here, and a routine job to take him up to 6.
So just some burst there and get Saurian out of Pochh now.
Without for a capture, I can't think he's going to stay on check for long. And yep, he's going to capture one onto that console Primus. Presumably, we're going to see that Primus move that onto the Bat Drone. And Spoils of Battle as well. So just then
he had 6 Ember a second ago, and now he is all the way down to 0.
Oh, interesting fights the Bat Drone there. I would have thought maybe would have like reaped to put it onto the Bat Drone, but nope, chose to fight instead. Yep, Dew Fairy gonna get a reap for 2, plays a Murmook and a Snufflegator.
Not really the untamed turn you're looking for.
Definitely not, no. But yep.
Especially as we're gonna
go Saurian, Galeotops coming on down. Perfectus Ludo. Oof. Okay. So uses the egg, discarding a defensive initiative and a mutagenous researcher. Gonna
swing and a miss, not great.
Take out the Snufflegator. Might run this Primus into the Murmook here just to get rid of that Ember. But no, reap to the Primus.
Gonna stick an Ember on it.
Stick an Ember onto the Dew Fairy.
Shout out to all the egg fans in chat.
Mm-hmm.
We did see the egg used there.
We did indeed. And here's the Ancient Bear.
Could take out the egg, could take out Consul Primus, perhaps.
I think Ludo is the most likely target, though, which it is.
Just wants that Ember back.
Yeah. And then he's going to reap with the Dew Fairy and fight the Murmook into that Primus.
So calling back to before when talking about different types of matchup, this is very much a matchup where one deck generates a huge amount of Ember and the other deck tries to take it away from it.
Discards the Trip of Hazri there. course,
Uh,
does have a regrowth in the deck, so maybe it's kind of like
two,
saving it for later.
two regrowths, so I think definitely saving it for later.
Yeah, but we've seen access denied. He's going to stop that Dew Fairy from reaping. In
And
fact, plays 2
capture.
access denied. Access is very denied.
God, just the amount of capture in this deck is
Mhm.
absurd, with the Amphora especially.
Yep, and then we are going to see their capture, but then straight into Shadows for Dave. Plays an Umbra. Of course, that's got the Speed Sigil. Going to be able to steal 1 with that. A routine job to steal
God.
2. Miasmas to stop the Force. Not that there would be one anyway. And Umbra going to take
Yeah,
Dave back up to
the
6.
back and forth in this game so far has been incredible.
It has indeed, but Pochh, got to assume he's going to have a way to knock Dave straight back off of that check there.
At some point, the huge amounts of Ember stacking up on Poch's creatures is going to come back to haunt him.
Yeah, Mark of Dis there. Unfortunately, onto the Umbra, so can't trap Dave into a Shadow's turn here, so not a deal there. But discards the Implosion, doesn't want to destroy any of his creatures, at least not to get rid of that Dew Fairy. Yeah, you've got to think Nature's Call is going to be a really big card in this matchup.
Potentially with the Chota as well.
Yeah. Yeah, like a Nature's Call and Regrowth turn could be big for Dave. And I think that's what he's angling towards. But that's a Ganymede Archivist. Wild Wormhole plays a Noddy the Thief. And Reaps with a Ganymede Archivist. Interesting. I maybe would have played I would have reaped with the Archivist first and then played the Wild Wormhole. Just in case you got a regrowth, you could have got a cheeky key with a Chota Hazri there if you'd have done it that way around.
Potentially.
Pochh gonna survey.
And got a key. It happened, guys. It is possible to forge a key in this game.
He did indeed.
Is just looking for things, perhaps looking for the Curiosaurus.
And here's a Dino Alien. Of course, it's going to be fast enough to take out the Noddy the Thief. Is then going to fight to take out that Ganymede Archivist. Of course, if you guys look at the top 3 cards of his deck. And puts 1 in his hand, 1 on the bottom. We obviously don't know what he put where, but we're going to play a Mutagenous Researcher. And Dave, though, also going to forge here, so 1 apiece.
And starting to build up a little bit of board on Poch's side. It's kind of what he wants. Wants to start trying to push towards a situation where he can Obsidian Forge.
This is very dangerous, I'd say, though, for Pochh here. You know, I think you've got to think you're inching your way towards that Nature's Call Regrowth combo. You know, we've not seen any of those cards thus far, and with only 10 cards left in the deck, I'd be surprised if we don't see that very soon to get Dave his second key out of nowhere.
Also haven't seen a Hunting Witch or a Just Pixie.
We've not, no. So
there's potentially some very big bursts.
It certainly could be, yes. And that's the thing, yeah, that Dave could really just win this game out of nowhere, potentially there. But we shall see. Dave having a bit of a think here, taking his time with his turn.
Could just be doing some maths, counting.
I think it's certainly so. And just a little bit of a from Dave there, just indicating he's just having a think, hasn't had any connection problems or anything like that. Always nice to see.
Choices, decisions.
Choices, decisions.
That for our newer viewers is the Baron's phrase of choice when he's trying to decide. Mine is just.
But here we go, Hunting Witch coming down.
So we are going to see some pretty big bursts.
There's a Dust Pixie. Life Web isn't going to be able to steal one, but he's going to get him an Ember. Dew Fairy fights a Dino Alien to take him up to 6. Reaps with the Hunting Witch. Are we going to see a regrowth here? We do. This could be it. If he has a Nature's Call here, I think he just wins. Doesn't have Nature's Call though. Okay, so a Stay of Execution. It feels like for Pochh though.
Could just do it next turn.
Definitely could. It definitely could. Yeah, I mean, I think he's. Yeah, okay, kills the board, which is good, but with a regrowth Nature's Call here wins the game, I think, for Dave.
And you've got to think he's having them, if not now, next turn they will be there.
Yeah, definitely. And we can see Logos, Neurosuction, Draw Card, Library Access, Strange Gizmo coming down. Not going to be helpful, but does. And gets Dave up to 6 with the Dr. Escatera. Fights Galia Tops, puts a bit of damage on. And there's the Saurian. Here we go. Perfectus Ludo. Does he have any way to kill his creatures in Saurian? Because I think that could be big if he does.
Just a huge swing point in the match earlier when he discarded the defense.
So, he can use the Pale Star actually to get rid of his Galia Tops. Could be a big one.
True, that could certainly help. Is there any other damage?
He's going to see an Arios for Nell and Picaroon discarded. But even then, I don't think that's enough because we do need to see at least one kind of capture here from, and that's the GG from Pochh. Doesn't have it. And DaveCordeiro is going through to the semi-finals. Didn't make it in the first game, but made it up in those last two.
2-1 Dave.
2-1
3
Dave
games,
indeed. And then we're going to see
minutes.
the Pale Star just to take out that Galiotops. But yeah, Pochh just couldn't find a way to knock off that one Ember. I mean, I feel like there was no real way for Pochh to get out of that. You know, with the Nature's Call and the Regrowth coming up, I just don't see a way around that happening at this point in the game.
Yeah, it did feel somewhat inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Found the Curio a bit late, and so couldn't pull any shenanigans that way.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of massively outrushed, and the Untamed Burst overcame the capture eventually.
It certainly did, yeah. But great play from both players, though. You know, to get this far, just generally, is impressive for both players, and it's been a great set of 3 games as well. You know, all 3 fast games, all 3 games were both players, you know, really just kind of like playing quick, high-level Keyforge, which you always love to see. And, you know, it's just incredible decks on display too.
Absolutely.
Okay. Are we going to try and have a bit of a chat post-game?
Yeah, let's drop him a message.
Of course, while we do that, we're going to have another game in about an hour and 15 minutes. It's going to be J Power against Damat 96, and I'm going to be on with Justice Blinded for that one.
So Team Kip taking on the Italian Resurgence.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, let's try and call him in.
Okay, I'll start that voice call. There we go. Okay, I believe we have all 4 of us here. Welcome, guys. That was an incredible set of 3 games.
Can everybody hear me?
But Lon, hear you. Or can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello. Cool. We do. Yeah, we have both Dave and Pochh here.
So, congratulations, Dave. Reservations to Pochh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, Dave.
They're all tough now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's no easy games left at this point.
No, you've also got Jay Philippegg in the next round, who I think when we asked him yesterday if he'd have a preference between the 2 of you over who to play, he said, no, they're both really difficult. I don't have a preference.
Always fun playing against him, though, so.
Should be, yeah. So, talk us through the games. How do you feel they went? What do you think was highlights, lowlights?
Well, I mean, like in practice, I found that I don't think the Mass Mutation deck could beat any of the 3 decks that I brought more than like 20% of the time. So I felt pretty good about that. It could, the Peters one could go either way. But just the fact that there's like no R and not a lot of disruption and just like 3 ultimately like fair decks, I felt like I could probably like cheese something together like you saw there.
Yeah, sort of fair decks at this point, perhaps not enough to cut it. Has to be something.
Well, if against other fair decks, they're great, right? But it's just like, and like sometimes the fair decks are good against the, you know, cheesy stuff. It just depends on what's in them, you know? So it's just kind of a bad matchup sort of scenario, right? I guess, at least that's what it looked like from my testing.
So, yeah, Pochh, what did you think going into the matchup? Do you kind of feel a similar way about it with your MM deck, or how did your testing go for it?
Savior can win against his Kota deck, this creature deck, but it's heavily reliant on him not drawing Strange Gizmo early enough.
Okay.
Because if he gets the Strange Gizmo and wipes my board with a Chota on the next turn, it's over.
Yeah.
Which I played around. There was a play which seemed questionable at face value, where I discarded my Garcia instead of playing it. I chose to discard Garcia instead of a mutagenesis rather. But I was thinking in my head that if I delay your key and you get a phase shift, a strange gizmo phase shift Chota next turn, it's over for me.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you about that. That seemed an interesting play, but you kind of like were valuing your artifacts staying on the boards more than you were kind of Dave like stopping Dave getting a key then.
Yeah. So if I gambled, if he didn't have strange gizmo, and I knew he had phase shift during that time, so I needed to gamble that he doesn't have strange gizmo and Chota in his hand. But I don't think I wanted to bet on that because it would have been an insta lose if he had it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough. As ever, we were confused at the time, and then it seems like a very good play when we have the reasons laid out for us.
Indeed.
Talk to us about game one, because I know there was like a pretty big swing in that game. Dave, what were you thinking when you took that sort of gamble with the high ember and the graft?
What I noticed about Peters is that its efficiency and filtering is lacking, but it has a lot of great things, right? It just has to get them in the right order. So I was just like, you know, if you have the IG, you have the IG. If you don't, I'm going to win this. So let's see what happens. If I slow down, you'll get it. So may as well do it now.
I suppose if you were feeling you've got a good matchup against the deck in the second one, you're thinking, well, if I can eke out a win with this deck, great. If it doesn't pan out, I'm pretty confident I can get the other two, so it should be fine.
Yeah, basically it was a gamble that was worth taking there, I think.
The other matchup, the versus mirror, would have been it's favored towards Dave, I think, especially with the double Fangtooth and just discard everything. Like
yeah, that one I noticed. I really had to get Fangtooths early. For that one, it felt like if I had a Fangtooth early, like I was very favored. But if I, like I was actually planning on discarding Lethologica if I didn't already have both my Fangtooths and like a sweeper in my hand, because in one of the practice games, I lost because it like flipped a Fangtooth in a Savage Clash or something, and I was like, okay, so like I actually need to draw those cards. It doesn't matter if it slows down a little bit, but I don't want to mill those, right?
Yeah, I'll level with you. A lot of our commentary for that bit is not going to be super entertaining to watch because we were just puzzling through, is there anything Pochh could do here once the artifact came down pretty early?
That's like why I took that one turn where I only played one Fangtooth Cavern and passed. Just because I was just like, I had the autoencoder. I could have done some logo stuff, but I'm like, the Fangtooth gets more value every turn that it's in play. So I'm just, I wanted to get that down there soon.
Yeah, all Dave needs to do in that matchup is get his artifacts up and spam shadows eventually.
Yeah, that's certainly what it felt like with us, is that Pochh, you had a lot of answers to it, but it felt like eventually you were going to run into a turn where you didn't have answers and Dave could just reliably have answers every turn, and that's kind of, I think, how it panned out in the end.
Yeah, that's what I like about Savior. It normally has answers every turn. But this turn on this last game, it didn't.
Yeah.
I had a spoils and a Sino training in the deck and I didn't get it.
Yeah, we were talking through whether Dave could hit some sort of huge regrowth Chota Nature's Call combo for the key. I'm just expecting you to stop him on 6.
Yeah, I had the turn before I had Nature's Call. So I was just trying to draw into the regrowth, which I have in my hand now. But yeah, I was expecting to be stopped. So I had the setup for if I got stopped, but I was surprised when I didn't get stopped.
Not the worst surprise in the world, I suppose.
I'll take it.
So bans was something we had quite an interesting chat about in the deck chat, because we thought the ban was quite a clear choice for you, Dave, but we thought there was a chance, Pochh, that you might not ban Dave's 5 Edai deck. Was that a consideration for you to let through, or were you just very certain of what you were going to ban?
Problem with the 5 Edai deck is, I think with Dave's piloting experience, it will 100% win against my Mass Mutations deck. And I want to ban matchups that are 100% win.
Fair.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, we just thought that maybe with the marks of dis and stuff, there could be a way kind of around it, but maybe with your testing, you came to a different conclusion.
Yeah, I could definitely see an argument for banning, I guess, Leader over Caruso, but I think they're both very defensible choices here,
Definitely.
given the matchups.
We were eyeing up the Dysania in Peters as well for potentially the world's largest Dysania hit.
Yeah, I think, well, so I've played against you have to play the deck differently against Dysania. It's definitely a great card against it. But there are like some ways you can mitigate it. Like I think Caruso's 2-0 against Akari, which is Z's deck that has 2 Exhumes and a Dysania. One of those I think Brooks was playing it, so I don't remember exactly what happened there. But you can mitigate against it, but yeah, it is definitely a whole different level of annoying. Do you have to like kind of plan around?
Yeah, you
can't just stuff 24 cards in your archive and call it a day.
So unfortunately, Pochh, this is the last we'll be seeing of you in the KFPL. How has your overall experience been? Have you enjoyed it?
Pretty fun. I mean, lots of new people that I've met, especially since I'm a guy who just entered starting last December during the 75 SAS Triad. So yeah, I've met a lot of good people, a lot of great players. Also found the team. So KFPL has been really good.
Excellent.
That's great to hear. I mean, obviously as well, you're now in KFPL Season 3 as well, which is going to be sealed. How are you feeling about that format? Is that something you're looking forward to? Is that something you play a lot of?
It's kind of a double-edged sword. Sealed is what really got me into Keyforge. At the same time, depending on the format, it could just be one-sided at times, I feel. So it would depend on how they want to implement sealed, or if there's going to be additional balances like 3 choose 1 or pseudo sealed with pods, like what TCO did back then when TCO held a sealed tourney, quote unquote sealed.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be you get 5 decks from each set, and then you kind of like choose one of each. But I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure we'll have the details released at some point, presumably once KFPL Season 2 is finished. But yeah, we'll see. Very exciting. So, kind of same question to you, Dave. How have you felt about the KFPL thus far, and kind of like how are you feeling about the remainder of Season 2 and also Season 3?
I think, I've enjoyed it quite a lot. It's a lot of fun. You know, I miss Vault Tours. Going to Vault Tours is always a lot of fun, and getting to hang out with the people, and all that. So this is, this is a good way to get that in when it isn't safe to actually do that. I definitely prefer Triad to Adaptive, and so I don't know. I've enjoyed Season 2 being that. Season 3 seems like it's got a really cool format, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. But I'm sure that I'll have a lot of momentum coming off of my win of all of this whole thing. So I'm sure that will carry me. Yeah.
Shout out to Jay Philberg, your opponent next week.
Yeah, I'm coming for him.
Dave is unconcerned.
Okay, well, thank you very much to both of you for what was an excellent game. Really, really exciting to cast and really exciting to watch, and I'm sure everyone watching at home thought so too. But we'll end it off for this semi-final here, and we've got in just over an hour, we're gonna have the next match of what is the Keyforge Super Sunday, where we're gonna have, I believe it is J Power versus Demats.
Nope.
But until then, I'm gonna be signing off. So
Actually, that's not the right order. It is. Oh, I look like a fool.
Doesn't take much.
Sorry.
It's all right. But yeah, I'm signing off. So we have been Team Screech Bomb. I have been David Baron von Fabulous Lark.
I have been Callum, the good Dr. Young. You can hear the Baron and Justice Blinded going live in about 22, the next hour, wherever you are.
Indeed.
For some more pre-game deck chat. And I'll see you later for a third game.
Indeed. Okay, thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
See ya. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.